So this is part 2 of the videos for producers 1 beat challenge from Project, and I hope you enjoyed this little session with us, and I want to walk you a little bit more through the half track I created here, and I want to show you a little bit more about the elements, the selection, and what I did here in this track. I will play the mixed down version, and there's one caveat I want to say. I usually add a little bit of stuff during my mix down as well. Also, when I start working in audio, I do things like reversing audio and stuff, which I might not have in the arrangement here, but I want to look into the arrangement because I got a complaint that I don't show enough on MIDI synthesis and stuff. So I want to give you guys the opportunity to see a bit into the project, but with a bit more final sound than this here. So let's listen to this block by block. We're starting with the intro, and I want to explain you a few things. So in the intro, I want to create a certain vibe. If you want to see that in a little bit more detail, we'll link up here to a track which was released. In that track, I create more like a space vibe. In this track, I wanted to create a little bit of a darker vibe, a little bit of a dark mood here. I recently listened to that 100K Alpha Portal set a lot, and they have that really cool track with like, can you dance to this beat? And they have that really spoiled vibe in that. And I want to create a little bit more into that direction. It's not like super dark here in my track as in theirs. There's a lot of elements which contribute to that dark style, and I want to show you a little bit. So we have a pad. A pad is always a good source of creating emotions. This is the tonic G, and we have +1, and then we have from here +4, and we have +1 again, sliding into the key of our track back again, which also does +1s give like a lot of tension. So check that out. Then we have this pad. As you can see, it moves downwards. So I'm going down, and that also creates like a falling motion. I think that's something which also creates a bit of that vibe in that track here. Also, it's a very high sound, like as you have also in this horror movies sometimes that a metallic high sound like a blade or something, and I think that also adds a little bit of a spooky vibe. And we have this melody down here. And it also creates, I think, a very spooky tone. And notice it's also like typical Goa notes, like tonic +1, -2. And I choose another note to give some spice in there, some salt and pepper, and it's an off-scale note. And whenever you use an off-scale note, I think you're basically creating like a new scale. And besides, you have embellishment things like quickly, like let's say like embellishment is like you have 2 notes and you have one like quickly going up and then down again. But I think that's not so much the case here. I think we are just creating something new here, and you really need to trust your gut feeling with that. Sometimes you get like a really awkward feeling and then you're off, and that's absolutely, I think, to taste how far you can go. Some people might already find this very unmusical. I think it's cool, and you need to decide for yourself what you find cool. And then we are going here into kick and bass. So in this part, I play FX games. So as I explained in earlier videos, you can do one of 2 things usually. One is you take effects really long with a lot of delay and reverb. And one is that you kind of like switch them a little bit more fast. What I think I do here, but I also have them quite wetted here with a lot of this delay, and this is a long reverb here. The trick here is to really find elements which contrast each other but are in the same domain. Yeah, that sounds a bit contrary in the beginning, but you want to have a difference in the elements, but at the same time you want to have a set of them. You want to belong them to one family, like that they give you some certain vibe, I would say. And what I do always listen to when the elements end, and you want to kind of like blend them in each other and overlap them, but not conflict them. So that's the important thing. So take a listen how they kind of like change over time. I also mix that up with a little bit of MIDI, so that's why you can see everything. So that's something I either use samples, and I have like a lot of sample libraries which I look through, but also use a loop cloud, so you can check out or Splice or whatever platform you want to use. And they have like a lot of samples in it, or there's like a BBC library for like nature sounds. And then you find sounds which are really good. You don't need to synthesize every one of those. You can change them a little bit with processing, like time stretching, or plugins like Redux, EQing, whatever. But I would not create all of those. That would take too much time for one sound. And I mix them up with usually with some stuff from the track to make the connection a bit better to the track. And here I find a really nice sample of that kind of like spooky piano, which kind of like ends everything. It's like that, bam, and then it ends. So here we just have like a grid game, like a game between different FMs, a rhythmic thing. I think, to be honest, the part isn't that good. It's something I would rework if I would have spent more time, and if I want to work this out to a full track, I will definitely change that part because I think it's not very interesting at the moment. But anyways, what this part, how it works, you can see there's like a certain rhythms, and they interact kind of like in the gaps of each other. They can overlap, so there's some overlap here, but you see every bit has a little bit their own space beside that asset, which is quite filtered. So you can see it's not even there here, and it's also quite simple, and not like you don't see any kind of like notes in here besides the tonic. Then it builds up here and unfolds to the end and gets more crowded here. So that's all about this part. There's nothing really special in it, which is also the bad thing about that part. Then we go into the next part, and I explained this already on the video I did in Projektor's channel. So it's really important if you have things like flangers, randomization, that you record out the best piece. It's very, very important, because you won't reach the last 5-10% of your track, which is a bit of effort if you don't record stuff out. I also did this here in the beginning. So I have this thing which is opening the track, this one here. And as you can see, there's number 3 and 4, so they're not the same. I rarely use stuff twice in a track. So if I use it like here, then maybe in the end to reinforce that. And even there, I usually do some processing on top of it. So let's go back to this one here. I really take an effort, you can see it's recording number 15, to get the flanger really nicely sliding into the next block, because if you don't get the transition, the drop into the next block right, you'll usually lose all the energy of the block. So the block is really easy. Actually, we only have that FM, which is very strong and riff-like. And I think sometimes you need elements which have a major role, and you don't need to go too nuts with too many elements to really transfer like kind of like persistent energy there. And then we have like a snare roll here building up, but what's actually driving it more is like the layer, that like little slow pad underneath which we had already in the intro. That's also a cool thing if you announce elements earlier in the track. But this really gives a certain vibe to the energy. So we have the energy, and then we have that kind of like more mystical thing in the background. And then we have those elements here, which I also think are pretty cool. So what I did here is basically I recorded my own voice and the voice of my girlfriend, and I just make like a long note, like whoa, and then I corrected the pitch, and I added like a lot of reverb and an auto-tuner to it. So the auto-tuner before the reverb. And then I'm diving in again in reverb. And I noticed while listening to the section, I could have actually sustained this a little bit more. It falls off too quickly. But I think the result is pretty cool for how easy that was created. And believe me, you don't want to hear the original. It's ridiculous. But actually the autotuner, I think it adds a cool flavor to it. It makes it a little bit, not so straight. And I think that kind of gives that in the sky vibe here. Also, it fits really well to this one note here. So notice when the pad goes up, it also has that angel type of sound. So let's check the last sections, what we have here. So I already explained this in the video I did for Projektor. So what I did here, I had a section which has more suspense. It's kind of like the pads is straight, so it is not a melody anymore. This sequence is very straight here. So it's just opening up the filter and driving everything a little bit upwards. And this part makes the connection between that kind of like full groove part and the melodic part here as well. And then we have that melody also like filtered in, and I layer that in the next section with a lower layer as well. And we have the acid driving upwards. As you can see, the part is also very simple. So we have mainly the melody, then we have some elements accompanying the melody here. I could maybe have brought more like an FM as well, but I think it fitted nice here to run out, and also it has that a little bit leisure mood, like a little bit bam 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 bam, like if you would be on a festival and you don't care about stuff. And the reason why I layered this is sometimes it happens that a synth is not good in an octave, so either in a lower or higher octave, and if you want to use all those octaves, give it a little bit more melodic range, then what you can do is you can take those higher or lower notes and move them to another synthesizer. And what you can do there is either you choose a patch that's very similar but works in that lower domain, or you can adjust the patch you already have and make it work for the lower domain, or you can create something completely new or take a new preset. But then you have a little bit more the concept of actually having two synths. And I was choosing something which is quite similar to here. As you can see, it's like so high, so low. So I probably did a few adjustments that doesn't sound so bad. To be honest, the lower layer is not doing a lot. It's still sounding a bit ugly. So it's not having a lot to say, but just saying like that's something you can do to rework it a little bit and make it a little bit better. And it's a very cheap and easy trick. And then I close the track with the same sample. I open it. Probably if I work more on the track, I would change that a little bit more. I think it's nice if you have something in the beginning and in the end, kind of like encapsulating the track. Also, it's cool if you make connections within the track, like front, back, as you have seen with the pad as well. We had a pad in here, which we then used at this FM part over there. So I hope this gave you a little bit more insight. If you have any questions, if you want to know something more, then let me know in the comments. Also, give me a thumbs up if you like this video. And if you really want to go deeper with me, then you can join my YouTube membership program. In the membership program, you find live videos, which you cannot see at the moment, live streams and or recorded videos where I go whole production sessions, like 3 hours or more. And you can really see how I go from a raw track to a final releasable track. So you see all my secrets and how I go, and you cannot kind of like pack that all in tutorials. It's impossible because a tutorial needs to be like small in a certain time and cover a certain topic. There's so many like small things and things you might not even have asked, which you see in those live streams. So if you want to support my channel, that's a great opportunity for you to grow as a musician and also to help me to make this channel possible. So it would be really great if you join that program. Also, I have a private Discord channel. You find a link in my community tab. So if you're a member and you haven't found it yet, there's still some missing in the Discord, but we have like very good members in there. So there's like friends of mine, there's alumni from the Psytrance Academy, and you guys, the members, and that's really a hub for you to connect to other really good artists out there for collabs, for feedback, for other stuff. So make that your opportunity and become a member, and I hope to see you on my Discord.